Let's talk about your podcast for a few, okay? What made you decide to do What's Next with Eric Wood? What was the inspiration for you starting that podcast? And we'll talk about the theme of it in a minute as well.
Yeah, I've always loved podcasts, and I've always been into them. So doing my own has always been kind of on my radar. I just didn't know exactly the niche I wanted to do. And then the title What's Next with Eric Wood comes from me basically being like, I don't know what's next for me, essentially, but come with me as I transition into a different career and try and learn from people who have transitioned within their careers or are in a time of transition themselves. So, for instance, our first episode was Richie Incognito, and, you know, he had just set out a year out of the NFL too, and we talked about how tough it was, the challenges of not having a schedule for the first time in your life and not training for something specific for the first time in a long, long time. So that was a really good one. My next guest was Michael Ray, who is up for Newcomer of the Year in country music at the ACMs next weekend, which me and my wife will be in town for out in Vegas. We're going to go support him and his fiancee, Carly Pierce. They're both up for ACM. So that was my next guest, and his story is just phenomenal. And I know Buffalo isn't the biggest country music town, but it's growing. I've been to Tasty Country many times up there, and it is growing, the popularity. And I always tell people up in Buffalo, I say, country now is what classic rock was. You're talking about, you look on stage, and it's got every instrument. You got electric guitars and drums and all the stuff that, you know, people in Buffalo, I'm sure at one point were critical of country music. Now we got all those instruments and everything. So Michael Ray was phenomenal. And next week's guest will be a very popular former Bills player. I'll tease that out now. One of my favorite teammates ever, and was lucky to get him on the show.